The recording began with a chair scraping softly. Then a man said, "There is smoke in the hallway." He did not whisper. He did not cough. He sounded like someone reading a number from a receipt. I heard paper move near the microphone. A door clicked somewhere behind him. Then came 7 seconds of room tone, flat and steady. "There is smoke in the hallway," he repeated. This time he added, "I cannot get out." The words should have changed the room. They should have made someone sit forward. Instead, everyone in chambers stayed still. The judge looked at the transcript first. The prosecutor watched the waveform on the screen. I watched the timestamp in the corner because that was my job. I was a courthouse clerk. Most days, time meant deadlines, filings, and missed signatures. That morning, time meant whether a man had asked for help before the fire trucks moved. On the recording, his voice stayed calm, too calm, and that was the first thing everyone explained away. I worked 3 floors below that courtroom. My desk sat beside the filing terminal and the emergency docket printer. Most people thought clerks handled paper. In our building, paper had a pulse. Protection orders, sealed warrants, custody transfers, psychiatric holds. They came in stamped, logged, routed, and watched. That morning began with a plain emergency filing. A fire-related liability motion had been uploaded by City Council. It named a tenant, a building, and 1 unanswered distress call. Nothing about it felt impossible. Old buildings burned. Dispatch records failed. People spoke strangely under stress. I had seen enough cases to know that fear rarely sounds clean. Some people scream, some people go quiet. Some sound almost bored because their mind is narrowed. So when the man on the recording sounded calm, I accepted it. Everyone did. The official packet made the same argument. Delayed panic, smoke exposure, confusion, poor audio quality. It was a believable stack of ordinary failures. I put the filing into the queue. The judge asked for the call log. I pulled it because I had access. At first, I expected paperwork to confirm the story. That was usually what paperwork did. The city's version was simple enough to survive first contact. A tenant smelled smoke. He called the building's emergency line. The call routed through private security before dispatch. Security lost several minutes confirming the address. By the time firefighters arrived, the hallway was already burning. The tenant survived barely. 2 others did not. Nobody in chambers liked the story. But nobody found it strange yet. The call center supervisor spoke in clipped sentences. She said old switchboards created delays. She said panicked callers repeated themselves. She said smoke damaged memory and timing. It sounded practical. It sounded like liability, not crime. The prosecutor played the recording again. The man's voice stayed level. The supervisor folded her hands and said, "Shock can sound like that." I wrote it down. Shock can sound like that. It was the kind of sentence that closes a room. The judge asked whether the emergency response matched the call. A dispatch analyst nodded once. "Within the expected delay," he said. For a few minutes, the case settled. The calm voice became trauma. The missing minutes became procedure. The deaths became a slow system, not a hidden one. Then the court reporter asked to slow the playback. Not for the words, for the spaces between them. She had typed emergency hearings for 20 years. She knew how frightened people interrupted themselves. The analyst lowered the speed. The man said the first sentence. Then he stopped for 7 seconds, not breathing hard, not turning away, not listening to someone outside the door, just waiting. The supervisor said that could happen. People freeze, people search for words. People misjudge time when afraid. That made sense. I'd done it myself once. Years earlier, a tenant had warned me about a locked stairwell. I filed it as a routine complaint. 3 weeks later, another tenant broke an ankle there. So I believed delays could be human. I wanted this delay to be human, but the second pause was the same length. 7 seconds again. The third was almost the same. The waveform looked less like panic. It looked like spacing. No one said that aloud. The judge only leaned back. And the official version lost its first small piece. I still accepted the city's explanation. The pauses were odd, but odd was not proof. Recordings flatten people. Microphones miss movement. Compression can make a room feel cleaner than it was. So I turned back to the part I trusted most. The filing system. Every emergency upload carried a trail. Username, terminal number, server receipt, routing time. I opened the docket history beside the call log. The courtroom lights reflected off my monitor. City Council had filed at 8:42 a.m. The emergency call was listed at 8:47. At first, I assumed the obvious. One clock had to be wrong. Courthouse servers drifted. Dispatch systems updated in batches. Private security logs were worse. A 5-minute mismatch could be ordinary. The analyst said the same thing. Separate systems, he told the judge. Separate clocks. It was a good answer. For almost a minute, it held. Then I checked the server receipt. Not the screen time, not the clerk view, the machine receipt. The packet had arrived before the call existed, and it had been routed as urgent. I printed the receipt because screens invite argument. Paper makes people quieter. The docket printer coughed twice. A thin sheet slid into the tray. I carried it upstairs and placed it beside the call log. The judge did not touch it at first. The prosecutor read it standing. Her finger stopped on the routing field. Urgent fire response hold. That label should not have been there. A normal filing entered as a motion. A clerk reviewed it. Then a judge marked it urgent, if needed. This one had entered urgent already. The city attorney frowned. He said templates carried old labels sometimes. The analyst nodded too quickly. I wanted that to be true. Bad templates were common. Lawyers reused documents constantly, but the label was not inside the document, it was outside it. It belonged to the upload path. The system had treated the packet like something already alive. I checked the attachments. There were 3. Motion, affidavit, audio file. The audio file name ended with a time. The emergency call log said first contact happened at 8:47. For a moment, no one spoke. Then the judge asked me to read the file name again. The room found the safest explanation first. Fill-in name errors were easy. Someone could rename an attachment. Someone could type the wrong minute. Someone could pull audio from another system. The analyst leaned into that version. He said call centers often export files in batches. The file name might show export time, not call time. That made sense. A file can be copied at 8:46 and logged later. A queue can delay the public record. A human can label something before understanding it. The judge looked at me. I did not object. The explanation almost worked. It gave the filing a path back into ordinary failure. A messy system. A hurried lawyer. A mislabeled emergency packet. The prosecutor asked for the original audio header. The analyst said he needed permission. The city attorney said it contained protected system data. That answer made the judge's face change. Not anger. Calculation. He ordered the header produced under seal. The analyst opened his laptop with 2 fingers. For the first time, his hands looked careful. I watched him type his password. He missed the first attempt. The file name could be wrong. The document label could be wrong. But now the people defending those errors looked less certain. The header arrived as a sealed printout. 4 lines mattered, created, modified, imported. First packet received. The analyst tried to keep his voice even. He said created did not always mean recorded. He said imported could mean copied. He said systems kept ugly histories. Again, the explanation almost survived. Digital records were not diaries. They were footprints through machines. A file could look older than its case. But then I saw the duration field. The recording lasted 46 seconds. The first packet arrived at 8:46:12. The call log opened at 8:47:03. That was not 5 minutes of drift. That was 51 seconds of impossible order. The prosecutor asked one quiet question. How does a call finish before it begins? The analyst did not answer. He looked down at the header again. The city attorney asked for a recess. The judge denied it. I felt the old stairwell complaint return in my chest. A warning ignored because it looked procedural. This one looked procedural too. But the numbers had stopped behaving like paperwork. They were behaving like a sequence, and the sequence was wrong. The judge asked me what the court system trusted. I said, the server receipt. Not because servers never fail. They fail constantly. But they fail in patterns. A computer may display the wrong local time. A user may rename a file, a log may update late. But when a courthouse server receives data, it records a transaction. It records what arrived, when it arrived, and from which account. That receipt is not someone's memory. It is the machine marking contact. The analyst tried one last path. He said network lag could distort order. That sounded possible. Everyone has watched a message arrive late. But lag delays delivery. It does not make a finished audio file arrive before the call begins. The file was already complete when the server touched it. 46 seconds of sound had been packaged, uploaded, and routed. Then, 51 seconds later, the official call opened. The courtroom became very still. People think digital evidence is strongest when it shows content. In reality, timing often matters more. Content can be copied, names can be changed, but a sequence is harder to fake across separate systems. That meant the recording was no longer just a call. It was an object with a past, and that past started before the emergency. The judge stopped the hearing, not ended it, stopped it. He ordered the building's remaining tenants contacted immediately. The city attorney objected. He said the filing concerned one past emergency. The judge looked at the header again, then explained why the past arrived early. He said nobody did. A bailiff stepped into the hallway with his radio. The prosecutor called the fire marshal. I called the clerk's office downstairs. My voice sounded strange to me, too flat. Maybe that was why the recording bothered me. Calm was not proof of safety. Sometimes calm was a cover. Sometimes it was a person trying not to reveal timing. The building still had open violations. One stairwell inspection remained pending. The tenant from the recording was in a burn unit. 2 families were waiting for answers. And now the case had changed shape. If the audio had existed before the call, then someone had prepared it. If someone had prepared it, they knew what story would be needed. The risk was no longer just about liability. It was about whether the same system was still protecting a lie. The fire marshal arrived before lunch. He brought a laptop and a paper cup of coffee. The coffee stayed untouched. He asked for the recording without the transcript. That mattered. Transcripts make voices look cleaner. They remove hesitation, room noise, and timing. The marshal listened once, then he asked for headphones. On the second listen, he raised one hand. "There," he said. Not at the words, at the silence behind them. The room tone did not change when the man spoke. No alarm, no footsteps, no air shifting under a door. Just a steady, soft hum. The analyst said microphones miss background detail. That was true enough. Cheap systems flatten rooms, but they do not invent perfect stillness. A burning hallway usually changes a room. Air moves, people move, sirens rise, smoke alarms chirp through walls. Here, the pauses sounded measured. The voice sounded placed on top of quiet. The marshal wrote 3 words on his pad. Recorded elsewhere first. He did not show them to the judge, but I saw the pressure in his jaw. The timeline had broken. Now the room itself was beginning to break with it. We rebuilt the sequence on the judge's table. Not by listening harder, by ignoring the words for a moment. The motion arrived at 8:42. The audio was complete by 8:46. The official call opened at 8:47. The emergency dispatch began at 8:44. That last time came from the fire marshal's tablet. He did not say it loudly. He just turned the screen toward the judge. For a second, the room rejected it. Dispatch could not start before the call. Unless dispatch had another trigger, a sensor alarm, a private security report, a silent building alert. The city attorney reached for that explanation fast. He said smoke detectors could notify vendors first. He said automated systems often beat people. Again, it almost fit. Then, the marshal checked the alarm feed. No building alarm at 8:44, no sensor trip, no automatic alert, only a manual service request from a security account. The name belonged to the same company handling calls. The key was not what the man said. It was when each system admitted seeing it. The content told one story, the metadata told the order, and the order was beginning to point at a person. The security supervisor broke after the second order. Not loudly, she only asked for water. Then she corrected her own timeline. The tenant had called the private desk earlier, not at 8:47, at 8:39. He reported smoke in a locked stairwell. The desk operator did not escalate it. He called maintenance first. Maintenance did not answer. 4 minutes passed. Then someone realized the recording system had failed. There was no clean emergency call to explain the delay, so the operator used an internal voice note. The tenant had made it weeks earlier, a complaint about smoke smells and blocked exits. They trimmed it. They spaced the lines. They routed dispatch manually before creating the official call. The calm voice was not calm under fire. It was calm because there was no fire yet. The pauses were not shock, they were edits. The quiet room was not a miracle of microphones. It was the wrong room, on the wrong day. The man had warned them before. On the real morning, his warning came again. This time, the system tried to make the late call look early, but it made the response look earlier than the report. That was the mistake. People wanted the lesson to be about the voice. A calm voice can lie. A frightened voice can sound flat. A recording can make a living room feel empty. All of that was true, but it was not the lesson that saved the case. The lesson was smaller. When a story depends on time, check the order first. Not the most emotional part, not the clearest sentence, not the line everyone remembers. Check what touched which system and when. A voice can be edited. A transcript can make silence disappear. A file name can be changed by hand. Memory can fold minutes together after fear, but separate records leave separate marks. The court server marked receipt. The dispatch system marked action. The security platform marked a manual request. Together, they refused the official sequence. That was why the calm voice mattered less than its position. People think evidence answers what happened. In reality, evidence often asks when it happened. And if the when is wrong, the what begins to collapse. The tenants were moved that afternoon. Not because the case was solved, because the judge would not wait for certainty. The security company lost its contract within a week. The operator resigned before the hearing resumed. City Council stopped calling it an audio dispute. They called it a records failure. That sounded cleaner than what it was. 2 people were still dead. 1 man was still learning to breathe without pain. The families did not get a neat ending. They got a corrected timeline. They got names on requests. They got minutes placed back where they belonged. I kept a copy of the receipt in my desk. Not the recording, not the transcript, the receipt. Sometimes I looked at it before routing urgent filings. It reminded me not to trust the loudest fact first. A voice can pull a room toward feeling. A sentence can make everyone imagine danger. But danger also has order. It starts somewhere. It moves through wires, doors, lungs, clocks. And in that case, the truth was not hidden in what he said. It was hidden in when the system heard him.